I'm Armando Carbonell. I chair the Department of Planning and Urban Forum here at the Lincoln Institute of Land Policy. And it's always a pleasure to introduce our Lincoln lectures here in Lincoln House. But especially so in this case, to introduce to you Dan Perlman, who we've worked with for a long time, going back to when he was teaching biology and ecology at Harvard, now teaching at Brandeis, and now a fellow at the Lincoln Institute of Land Policy on sabbatical from Brandeis. I want to be sure to say that Dan is the co-author of a Lincoln book, Practical Ecology, and we are soon to have a version, a course version on the web based on the book, which does not in any way obviate the book, but actually makes it even more compelling for you to buy the book. Books are available on our website, and of course we can even make a deal here if you're interested. And the point of the book is to make ecology understandable and useful as a way of thinking about the world for people who are planners, developers, and citizens dealing with development issues and plans at the local and regional level. So it is a book we felt there was a need for, and it has indeed done very well. Today, Dan is going to be talking about a different project that he's been working on with us and in part with our partners, the Sonoran Institute in Arizona, on the subject of conservation in a world of limited resources. Of course, is the world we live in, a new method for setting priorities, and as he will tell you, this is more than a theory. It is a method that he's been using in the field and testing, and we have both a kind of theoretical and very practical sense of what this is all about. So, Dan Perlman, please come up and get us going.
Thank you. Thank you very much for coming here, everybody. And what I'll be doing is giving you different viewpoints on this problem of how to set conservation priorities. My own background is as a conservation biologist and ecologist, but before that I was a social psychologist, and you'll see the strains of thinking about how people in groups work together to solve problems coming through in this work. Let me also say, I'll put you on warning at various times. I will be asking you questions as a group, and under those circumstances, it's only fair that you should be able to ask me questions. I may put some off till the end, but if you have questions, if anything's unclear during the talk, feel free to raise a hand. I'd like to acknowledge some of my collaborators from the Sonoran Institute, Marjo Kurgis, John DeBarry, and Stephanie Weigel. Very, very thoughtful people who've been very instrumental in thinking about how to develop this new priority setting method. And I would like to thank Armando and Greg and the whole Lincoln Institute for hosting me this year, for working with me over the years. And as Armando said, this has been a long-term relationship. There he is 20 years ago, and so we have been together for a long time. Now, what I'd like to do is just take you on a very brief 2-minute tour of a couple of the world's ecosystems so we can think about the setting in which we have to do conservation. This is the Amazon rainforest in the eastern part of Ecuador, and I was there just a couple weeks ago. Everybody knows rainforests are extraordinary habitats. This one was no less extraordinary than I expected. I've been in a lot of rainforests, but this was amazing. The diversity there, the types of trees. This is a gigantic kapok tree. Just extraordinary sight. Like rainforests everywhere else, it's got these big trees. It's full of these woody vines. And it has organisms like this, the Huatzin, the only leaf-eating bird in the world. A couple weeks ago, I was also out in another rainforest, this one in our country, a temperate rainforest on the Olympic Peninsula. Again, this is a site that a type of ecosystem I'd never visited. Absolutely magnificent, more biomass, more living material in this ecosystem than in any other ecosystem in the world, even than in tropical rainforests, acre for acre. Absolutely beautiful. I had the misfortune of seeing this great temperate rainforest on the one sunny, dry day they probably had in the last 6 months. But nonetheless, it was a great experience to get there and see things like these gigantic Sitka spruces and western red cedars and other magnificent trees. And there, I saw magnificent wildlife as well in our own country. And finally, I just want to introduce you to a very exotic spot. This is a spiny forest. This is a unique ecosystem in all the world, found only in parts of southern Madagascar. And what we're going to see here is the spiny forest or spiny desert in the early evening. And you'll hear some sounds. You'll hear first a couple of crickets, and then you will hear 2 owls hooting back and forth. And I just want to give you a sense, again, of the range of the world's ecosystems. So those are the owls. Really an amazing place, and you can't find it anywhere else in the world. And like that, Madagascar has species that you can't find anywhere else in the world, such as all the world's lemurs. So that's the backdrop. We have a remarkable world, incredibly varied, and as we'll discuss, under incredible threats. So we are faced with the age-old problem that Noah had. We have to protect the living part of our planet, and we have to figure out how to do it. In many ways, Noah had a pretty simple task. He was told, take 2 of each animal. He was actually told, take 2 of each animal, and for the clean or kosher animals and the fowl of the air, take 7 of each species. So I think that was an early example of priority setting and conservation. There are certain things to focus on. And he was told, if you build an ark 300 cubits by 50 cubits by 30 cubits, and for those of us of a certain age, you may wonder what's a cubit, but that's a different story. That was a simple task, but we have a much more difficult task. We do know, as you can see, if you look on any technical bookshelf, we know that we've got a problem. We're endangering species, we're endangering ecosystems all over the world, in third world, in first world areas. And it's not just on the technical bookshelves you read about this. Here we have Time magazine, The New Age of Extinction. Or just in the last month from Newsweek, 100 places to remember before they disappear. And this is one of my favorites. This is Monteverde in Costa Rica, where Armando and I and my wife Nora and I have visited many, many times. And just in the last month, we had the America's Great Outdoors Conference led by President Obama, talking about the need to protect our nation's natural areas and to connect people with those natural areas. So we're aware of the problem. Now, as I said, in many ways, Noah had it pretty easy. He had to deal with one flood. And just a few weeks ago, I was out in southeastern Washington, and I got to see, for the first time from the air, the effects of a giant flood. There was a glacial Lake Missoula, 500 cubic miles of water. The glacial ice dam holding it back broke catastrophically. It took a week to drain an entire 500 cubic miles, and it scoured this landscape. There you can see some farm buildings, and this is the landscape that was produced by that flood, thinking in terms of Noah. These are giant ripples. There are roads, so it gives you a sense. Some of these ripples, like the little ripples you see at the seashore, some of these were produced 50 feet high. Very, very powerful stuff. This entire canyon was gouged out by this flood. But the nice thing about a flood is when it's over, it's gone. So Noah's problem was to get through the flood, and then he was done with his job. He could recolonize the land. Unfortunately, when human beings flood across the landscape, we stay. We don't recede after a week or a month or a year. We're there for the long term. Not only are we there, but we're growing. 6.8 billion of us as of today. Every single day, more than 200,000 additional humans, that's births minus deaths, accumulating on the planet. So we have a huge, huge impact across the landscape.